Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to our session today. I am Anushka Patel and I'm head and co-creator of iiaa Beauty, and I'm joined here today by two amazing founders of British beauty brands. We have David Alpert, the founder and managing director of iiaa, the International Institute of Active Aging, and we have the lovely Madeleine White, who is the founder of award-winning sustainable beauty brand JUNI and the owner of JUNI CO Beauty Concept Store. So today we're going to be hosting a quick conversation in association with the British Beauty Council as part of British Beauty Week this year. And in this 20-minute conversation, we're going to be discussing the challenges around being planet responsible in our industry. And we've all got a level of experience in navigating these challenges. And we really want to talk about how we can do this better and how everyone out there can also get involved with us. Now, you are both members of the British Beauty Council's Sustainable Beauty Coalition Advisory Committee. That is a mouthful. And your passion for both skin health and the planet has really been a driving force behind what you've achieved with your brands. So I wanted to start by actually asking you what drives that passion, and why do you feel that now more than ever it's really important for people to be more informed about it and actually be more involved in it? So who's going to go first?
Okay.
You go first.
All right, thank you, Anushka. So what drives my passion behind sustainability? Well, a little bit left field, but what a lot of people don't necessarily know is I have a real passion for underwater photography. And I've been fortunate enough to win a lot of awards. And with the awards, there's come travel very far and wide. So everywhere from up near the North Pole to the equator and everything in between. And the interesting thing is, you know, we live in societies now, especially if you live in the UK, for example, where you can live in a city and you go to your supermarket and you buy your groceries, and then you go home and you throw away your packaging and everything else, and everything seems pretty normal, and these things disappear out of sight, out of mind, and it just doesn't seem to be much of an issue. When you start to go out into the wilds and you start to see the levels of havoc that we are wreaking on the natural environment, when you go up to the North Pole and you see very close to the North Pole, within 10 degrees of the North Pole, you see just mounds of plastic piled up on the shores and on the ice. And you know, when you go to places like Indonesia and you dive and you see the beautiful little critters that you want to photograph, and they're just crawling over mounds of rubbish underwater, you start to realize that, you know, these practices are unsustainable in every sense of the word. And if we don't start to do something about it now, it's going to be a problem. Why is it more important than ever? I tell you, for brand owners and for business owners in particular, I see a real problem. And that is the impetus for change, or the big drive for change, is not coming from the end consumer. You know, end consumers click like on Instagram and TikTok posts and the like, but when it actually comes to buying decisions, they tend to do what suits them best. And we see that as a result of it not coming from the end consumer, governments aren't pushing hard enough for this either. In fact, not only are governments not pushing hard enough, but it's started to become quite a polarizing topic within politics, that if you are left of the political spectrum, perhaps you are leaning a bit more to the green. If you're right, you're not. And it's just, the concept is of sustainability and the future of the earth and a world that is inhabitable is something that's all of us. It shouldn't be a political issue at all. So it's an important topic to talk about, an important thing to bring to the attention of people. And sadly, because it's neither being pushed by either governments or consumers, it's been left to responsible business owners to try and drive that impetus for change.
That is quite incredible. I mean, when you think about the impact, you're talking so far and wide, you know, and that is coming from all the way all across the world. It's not just in the UK. It's not the British industry alone. It's coming from everywhere. And the fact that you've noticed that going to the North Pole, you're right. We would never think of that. We're in our little bubble. We're on you know, a little island in the UK, and we don't think about actually the further and wider impact that we're making.
Absolutely. But the thing is that as a market, because of Britain's position in the world, because of the British media and such, we do have a big influence on the rest of the world. whilst
Yes.
we are only a small part of the world, potentially impetus and change that is started here can cascade quite far and wide.
Yeah, absolutely. Madeleine, you've done some amazing work yourself as well. So what is it that drives you?
Yeah, so my answer is actually quite similar to David's in that realization of what happens on a bigger scale.
Mm.
So I was sort of 18, 19 when I first started developing our products, and I cared about recycling and sustainability, but it wasn't at the forefront of my mind every day. You know, as a consumer, you buy one thing here, one thing there. It doesn't feel like that big of an impact. But when you start manufacturing, and I had no experience, I was a makeup artist, and you learn about MOQs, so minimum order quantities, and the scale of production. When you then have to order 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 units of packaging that you know are made from an unsustainable material and will not be recycled for whatever reason, that responsibility is very different to what it is when you're a consumer. And for me, I think that's why it's really manufacturers and brands that need to kind of be the pioneers for change here. You know, you can't expect consumers to make all these positive changes if they don't have the option to in the first place. So yeah, it was really the scale of the problem that made me passionate about it, and really learning about the scale of the issue. And I think it's just not getting any better, you know, especially in beauty. People want new products. They love buying new products, and you know, people like going out and shopping, and beauty is a huge industry, and I think that's something the British Beauty Council has really highlighted, just how big of an industry it is. And we saw that through COVID. You know, people were still buying their skincare and their beauty products, and it brings so much joy, but at the same time it brings so much waste. So yeah, it's not getting any better, unfortunately, and that's something we're trying to change with the Sustainable Beauty Coalition.
Yeah. And I know when we first met, we come from very similar backgrounds. I'm a makeup artist by trade as well. And you know, when David set me the task of creating iiaa as a brand, part of the challenge I had, like you said, was what is the packaging that's available to me to manufacture a really high quality product and maintain that planet responsibility that is so important to David as a business owner. And it's really hard. I don't know if you found this, but it's really hard to find solutions that mirror those values and that really kind of will, one, honor that customer experience and that premium quality that we really want to achieve, and you know, all of those things, and protect like high active level formulas and things, whilst also finding something that is going to reduce the footprint as much as possible or not be a single use item for a consumer. And we found that really challenging to find manufacturers that would step up to that challenge with us, and it really wasn't easy. We got turned away a lot, actually.
Yeah, and you know, the thing is, plastic is a brilliant material.
Yeah.
It's so good at what it does. It does the job. It's cheap. It's ideal.
Yeah.
So trying to find a solution that matches or even outperforms what plastic does is really difficult. 6 years ago, when we created our range, we went down the route of using aluminium, and I think aluminium is a fantastic material, but actually now there are materials that are even better. So we're now looking to change into home compostable materials. And what's really exciting is there are actually companies now doing this, and we visited a lab in London a few months ago, and they are growing a material that acts like plastic out of bacteria, and it's fully home compostable. And I said to them, why are more companies not using you? You know, you've cracked it. You've done what everyone's trying to do. And unfortunately, it comes down to cost.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's supply and demand, isn't it? And one of the challenges we had as well was what we call compatibility. So anyone that's watching that might not know what that is, when you have a product that you're putting into packaging, the two elements have to be compatible. We will stress test them, we will age test them, we'll temperature test them. And, you know, if that test after 3 months comes up and shows that your formula is not as stable as you want, or it's not maintained its integrity, there's also those challenges as well. And yeah, so, you know, David and I spent a lot of time finding companies, just like you said, who are being innovative and what materials can they offer us. And I think David's got some elements in front of him right now. For example, our refillable compact, you know, we searched far and wide, and that is made from FSC certified wood. So it's what can we do to make it, one, not single use, and two, use better materials, just as you said.
Yeah, so I've got over here the compact that Anushka was talking about. This is the smaller version of it for our iiaa. But, you know, Madeleine makes an important point, and that is, you know, when you are starting out in business and you want to be a disruptive brand, you don't necessarily have the means to pay for new molding and such like things. So fortunately we did when we created the brand, which meant that we were able to look at a lot of the new materials that were on offer and choose something that was, as Anushka said, that was really special. So we're working with essentially a wood pulp and mixed with it together with a resin. And that's created a fantastic product. It's a sort of an iconic product within the range. But it's very difficult for most new people starting out to be able to dig deep and create from scratch molds and these sorts of things in order to move that forward. And this is where we've started working with packaging companies in order to provide universal solutions for these unanswered questions. And it's a very exciting time because at the Sustainable Beauty Coalition, at the moment, we're going to be presenting some of these solutions to a vast array of you know, different business owners and different stakeholders within the industry, be it from retail all the way down to manufacturers. And it'll be interesting to see the level of interest and uptake. It's fantastic to see the innovation, like Madeleine was talking about, that we're seeing happening. But innovation's no good in the lab. And this is where we need to see business owners step up and actually, you know, buy into the innovation in order to drive forward the change.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, like David said, the innovation, it's coming, it's slowly coming, but we have to push that demand. Otherwise, those MOQs won't reduce and that cost won't reduce because the supply and demand chain just won't, you know, it just doesn't level up. And when we first launched iiaa, I really wanted to have a beauty sponge, and I knew we couldn't do that in a planet responsible way. But we managed to find someone that does a fully home compostable material. Now we have our gorgeous blending tools, and they're absolutely flying off the shelves because they perform. But I also know that there's no footprint. So we positively put that out there as a tool that is multi-purpose. So again, it's one thing that does so many different things, going back to your point about overconsumption, Madeleine, because there is that fine line of, we want to buy more. We love beauty, we love product, we love makeup, and we love skincare. And how do we find that fine balance of, I've got a product that does so much for me, and I'm gonna, you know, it's gonna tick a lot of boxes. And that's what we've really tried to do with brands like iiaa.
Yeah, and just a quick note on refillable products. For those of you who don't know, JUNI CO is a concept store, and we stock and retail iiaa. So I know these products well and love and use them. And a challenge that I perhaps didn't realize until more recently is, yes, making a refillable product is fantastic, but that product has to perform so well because people have to want to use it and keep repurchasing it.
Yeah.
For it to be worthwhile and to, you know, to kind of use the full potential of that refillable aspect.
Yeah.
So the bar for your formulations is that much higher as well.
Absolutely. The expectation, you're right. You're asking for full commitment from day one. You're like, but you're going to buy another one. So, you know, invest in the compact with us, and you're absolutely right.
Yeah. And I think, you know, that's just another level of what people perhaps don't understand. You know, you can tick the box of reducing your plastic consumption or or how much plastic you're using in manufacturing, but what happens down the line as well? How are consumers using your product? You know, are they using it fully? Are they being advised on which shade is right for them, and they love that shade and it works perfectly? So it's also about how they shop, and how retailers and beauty advisors in these retailers are supporting the customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what's so great about what you offer, and what most of our stockists of et al. Offer is that personalized service where people can walk in, feel really comfortable and at home, and know that they're getting that tailored one-to-one time to find that right product for them. So it is worth their investment.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think one of the interesting things, Anushka, that you raised was the blending sponge you were talking about. And what a lot of people don't realize is just the number of years that you had to endure with me in new production, new product meetings, NPD meetings, new product development meetings. When's it coming? When's it coming? Because I mean, it's very, very much at the forefront. These are new materials that will be developed the whole time. So it's an exciting time to be part of the industry, and it's an exciting time to be representing a brand like this. But Madeleine, you actually raised a very interesting point, because we had a hierarchy of needs when we created this brand. And actually, the interesting thing was, first and foremost, it had to be unbelievable as a product.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as passionate as I am about sustainability, I realize that if, exactly as you pointed out, if the product is not loved and it is not, people don't want to use it for its inherent value as a product, you're dead in the water. You can be as sustainable as you want, but it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you do see that, as a basic bar of soap, for example, that comes in a paper or a card pack, it's probably not going to give you the same results as a fantastic, beautiful cleanser that's got all these active ingredients in. And that's the choice consumers are then having to make. So to be able to marry the two with the more sustainable packaging and the brilliant formula, that's the challenge. And I think, we're seeing more and more brands manage to do that now, which is great.
Absolutely. Well, guys, our time is very quickly running away from us, but this has been such a great conversation. Now, at the beginning, we obviously mentioned that you both play a really important role in being part of the Sustainable Beauty Coalition Advisory Board for British Beauty Council. And I just wanted you to share a little bit more about that and how people could get involved if they wanted to, or how they could educate themselves better if they wanted to in this space.
So, I think one of the things that I would like to do is a big shout out to the British Beauty Council for the unbelievable work that they're doing in promoting the industry, and for the unbelievable work they're doing in sort of highlighting the issues, these sorts of issues, and the effort and energy that they're putting into raising awareness on these issues. Not only this issue, they deal with a number of issues, but obviously we're talking about sustainability here. And they have actually brought together, for the first time, certainly in my lifetime in the industry, and I've been in the industry now for over 30 years, they've brought together just so many of the important players, as I say, from retail right down to manufacturing, to discuss these issues in an open and honest forum and come up with solutions. So, well done to Millie and her whole team. I think the job and the work that they're doing is just so important, and it's just of such an excellent standard. I can't speak highly enough of what they're achieving.
Yeah, absolutely. We have meetings every 2 weeks, and I always leave feeling very inspired, and it's such an honor to be surrounded by these other people who are so passionate about sustainability. I think one of the most simple things that everyone can do is follow the British Beauty Council and the Sustainable Beauty Coalition on Instagram. Sign up to the newsletters, start reading into this information and teaching yourself, super simple, just a quick social media follow. And start to ask retailers and brands to pay attention, salons as well, your beauty therapist, whether it's a facialist or your nail technician, ask them to get involved and become part of this movement. They'll do it if they have the demand. So yeah, it's the consumers can start to build that excitement, I think.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both so much for this short but extremely insightful and informative conversation. I think you've really going to You're really going to challenge everyone to think more critically about their choices and their impact on the planet. And your passion for sustainability and commitment to positive change are commendable. So thank you everyone that's watched, and let's continue this conversation beyond this panel. Thank you.
Thank you.